Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaham. O most munificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer respectful obeisances unto you. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangapangostra Parshadam Yagnahi Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Su Medasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associate servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Sastra Vicharnai Kanipunau Shadadharma Samstapakau Lokanam Hitakarinau Tribhuvane Manyau Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Anandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Prabhupada Jai Shri Prabhupada Govindam Adi Purusham Jami. Welcome back everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances, all Krishna Prabhupada. So we have been hearing, and now we are in the final 8th shower of nectar. This is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Madhurya Kadambini. So the 8th shower of nectar is Prema Bhakti, because this Shraddha to Prema, this is the Bhaktilata Vraksha analogy of the author. So the final 3 lessons 22, 23, 24. So 22 we did it last weekend. Today we will do 23, and tomorrow we'll do 24 for those of in India. For those in the US, it is morning time, Friday. So lesson 23 morning time. And the evening time is this lesson 24. And with that, we should be concluding Sri Madhurya Kadambini by the causeless mercy of our Guru Parampara. Thank you. So before I begin lesson 23, let's hear recapping of lesson 22 that we did last weekend. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There's an offline program going in the hall. Yeah. Mataji. Yeah. Yes. His Grace Charuchandra Prabhuji last week he elaborated very well about lesson 22 of Madhurya Kadambini. Yes, we are going through the blossoming of Bhakti Lata Beach as per explanation and commentaries of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Prabhuji explained very well. The first slide I like the most. The first two leaves of sadhana bhakti visible on the wish fulfilling vine of devotion were described before, and now many such leaves they started appearing, and these leaves they are called as anubhavas, which are far smoother and softer, and they are composed of Shravan Kirtan, and they do suddenly manifest on this vine, clinging to the flower of bhav. So at every moment, these two leaves of Anubhava, Shravan and Kirtan, expand the great beauty of this mind, causing the flowers of Bhava to blossom to their ultimate potential and bear the fruit of prema. The nature of this wish fulfilling vine of bhakti is so astonishing that when its leaves, that is sadhana bhakti, its clusters of buds, that is asakti, its flowers, bhava, and its fruit, prema, attain maturity, they do not lose their original form but continue to shine together in newer and newer way. So, Prabhuji, I like this slide very well. So, it speaks a lot.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, Prabhuji explained about bhava and prema also, that the condensation of ecstasy, that is sandratma visheshatma, that is the intrinsic quality of prema, and the melting of heart, that is snigdhata, and mamatva, that is both is be required at the prema stage, and it is the marginal characteristic of this particular definition of prema bhakti, we can say, as per Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.1. So yes, lesson 22 is it is eighth shower, the last shower, as explained by Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And this eighth shower, it includes, as per Prabhuji, lesson 22, 23rd, and 24th. And this lesson 22, it includes the text 1 and 2. Lesson 23 will have third text, and lesson 24 it will include fifth and sixth text. So it is about the absolute fulfillment of the soul's yearning, that is prema bhakti. So lesson 22 it reveals that the Lord himself reveals to the devotee in prema, and what it shows in text 1 is the transformation of the flower of bhava into the fruit of prema. There are 7 themes. The first theme is this: the transformation of the flower of bhava into the fruit that will blossom into the very sweet fruit of prema. Then second theme was prema transforms the material tendencies of the devotee's heart into spiritual ecstasy. The material things, all this gets spiritualized at this particular stage. The fruit of prema, that is especially Sandrananda Visheshatma, Sandrananda Visheshatma, or that is a condensed pleasure, and Krishna Karshini. These two are, as we have learned in previous lessons about Moksha Laguta Kruta, and one more, I just forgot. So it is about Krishna Karshini, which is very important. It is the ability to attract Krishna, what we can see in this Prema Bhakti stage. Then one can see in devotees simultaneously burning in separation for Lord, especially Rajendra Nandan, and being cooled by a vision of him. So it is, as we know, the gopis, they used to undergo separation, and similarly, the devotees also feel in separation from Lord, distraught even after attaining a spurti of Bhagwan. Then sixth theme, it is attracted by his devotees' prema. Bhagwan gives his direct darshan and manifests his sweetness. The Lord is going to reciprocate. Lord is so merciful, and will bestow the sweetness, and this Madhurya prema will be offered to the devotees. The inexpressible bliss arising from darshan of Bhagwan. And yes, it is the text 1. These themes we have seen. Then text 2, about text 2, the first one, that is Bhagwan reveals his Saundarya. beauty, and saurabhya, that is fragrance. The first two characteristic, that beauty and fragrance. Then third one is voice and touch. Bhagwan himself, Lord will himself reveal uh, his voice and the tender touch to the devotees. Then these are about four, as we have seen. Then Bhagwan will reveal Saurasya, that is Madhurya's witness of his taste, and Audarya, that is magnanimity. Bhagwan will offer achintya shakti or unconceivable potency to his devotees. So the very long explanations of this text one, that is the transformation of the flower of bhava into the fruit of prem, how it blossoms, as we can see. So everything material one, it gets spiritualized at the stage and prema bhakti stage or to premi bhakta, and one can see the ultimate limitless ecstasy as well as mamatva bhava in the prema bhakta. So there are several examples of Mahajanas, as Prabhuji explained. We can find where at this particular stage and how they do release uh, the name, fame, qualities, and forms and pastimes of Lord. So, as in this, the fifth and ultimate goal of human life is Krishna Prem. And Prema makes Sri Krishna become controlled by his devotee. And by Prema, one obtains ambrosial happiness of service to him. Then in Prema transforms the material tendencies of the devotee's heart into spiritual ecstasy. Is that the tendency of devotee's heart, that is sadhaka, that is chittavritti, that was fixed in material pursuits at sadhana bhakti, now gets elevated at this transcendental stage. So here it has been special explanation we can find about Sandrananda Visheshatma, that is condensed pleasure, and Krishna Karshini, that is the ability to attract Krishna. The devotee at this particular stage can attract Lord Krishna, Krishna Karshini. So Lord is controlled by the object of prema. Sri Krishna will be controlled by his devotees. So the Prabhuji also gave the several examples on this. And the two innate qualities of pure transcendental bhakti, one is ahetuki, without any desire, and apratihata, unimpeded. So there will not be any obstacles at this particular stage. So these two things, that is ahetuki and apratihata, is important. Then simultaneously burning in separation from Bhagwan and being pulled by a vision of him. Here, Prabhuji explained well about this witness of Sri Krishna in a spurti, in a dream, or directly. The more his already intense, immeasurable eagerness and greed, that will increase, and this intense thirst, it is an indicator of taste, and it will offer the fullness of millions of moons also. So as we have seen, then at this at the stage of prema, upon receiving a spurti of Sri Krishna and thus relishing his beautiful form, qualities, and so on, the devotee simultaneously experiences an intense eagerness and charming tranquility. Shanti. This experience produces an indescribably blissful anguish in the heart of a premi bhakta. So, as we can see, there are several examples which are mentioned, that how the Premi Bhakta continuously rises and sings in the ocean of Bhagwan's delectable sweetness. So it is really a cloud nectar bank, we can see in a nutshell. And so likewise, in this text too, how Bhagwan causes the devotee's eyes, nose, ears, sense of touch, tongue to release his high qualities of, that is beauty, fragrance, sweet voice, soft and tender touch, and the taste of his lips, etc. So Bhagwan reveals his voice and tenderness of his touch. And so likewise, with this, how Bhagwan reveals the taste and audarya, that is magnanimity, with several such examples and quotes Prabhuji explained well. So it was really a huge lesson. It was really a great exercise for Prabhuji and us also. So, but still, Prabhuji, as usual, made it so simple and clear that we'd like to now hear for lesson 23 and 24 also. Hare Krishna, Dandatam Prabhuji. So now over to you, Prabhuji, for lesson 23, so as to understand how Bhagwan glorifies his Premi Bhakta or Premi devotees. Hare Krishna.
You are really incredible. So beautiful, so beautifully you do the recapping. I really admire your talents in that. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back to these concluding lessons of Sri Madhurya Kadambini. The author is again Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So, Nitisaki Mataji just recapped lesson 22. And what I'm showing before I begin lesson 23, what I'm showing you now, and I'm sharing my screen with you, and I hope everybody can see it. Am I correct? Everybody is able to see?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is a summary slide actually, the highlight of lesson 22, where the Lord Bhagavan Shri Krishna, his Madhurya, the sweetness, and there are 7 kinds of Madhurya that we came across. So show you schematically. That's why I designed this PowerPoint to show that, and it's unlimited Madhurya, and the devotee is very very thirsty to drink this nectar of sweetness. But see, he has a finite capacity, and the Lord's Madhurya is unlimited. You know, so how Krishna uh, facilitates for his devotee to relish this nectar of sweetness, that is what we see in this slide. So Lord, actually this whole slide, the subject matter is this 7 kinds of madhurya is bestowed, manifested by the Lord in an orderly fashion, one by one. Okay, beginning with Saundarya, Krishna's exquisite beauty, unparalleled beauty. Okay, uh, uh, and that, so these are all like sense objects, you know. So you want to see a form or beauty, normally you see it, you behold through your eyes, right? But here, the devotee is so engrossed, he cannot gather the limitless, unlimited beauty and that nectar. So he is drinking through all his senses simultaneously, including the mind. So the ear, uh, tongue, all the senses, uh, they are drinking all together at the same time. Okay. So what I'm showing you here, so there are 5 sense objects of this Krishna's Madhurya, beginning with his beauty, and then in a particular order it goes. His bodily fragrance, his sweet voice. So the Sanskrit term, I like, as you probably already noticed by this time, I like Sanskrit very much, you know. So I include the Sanskrit terms also. So prefix, so means incredible beauty, incredible sweetness, you know. And then what is that kind of sweetness that is gone? So like beauty, so darya, that is his beauty. And then fragrance, so rabya. Rabya means that fragrance. So swarya, swara means voice, right? Swar, so means incredible, sweet voice. when he speaks, also when he plays flute, uh, the the voice, the music, the song that he plays on his flute, then is so beautiful. Kumaria means that is the tender touch. When Krishna, out of his great affection and great love, touches his devotee, his face, touches his head through his lotus feet, and all similar. The touch, that devotee begins to experience that soft touch. Then so rasya. Rasa means the all this great rasa, the incredible nectar. So rasya, or the taste of his lips, you know, and then followed by, so all these five sense objects are absorbed, bring this beauty through the five senses of the devotees. Okay, and then Krishna really wonders that my nectar is unlimited, and my devotees have a finite limit to absorb that. How can I make him or her fully competent enough to fully taste that? Otherwise, it's of no use if my devotee cannot. So then he bestows a special called beauty, called Audarya. Audarya means magnanimity, by which his devotees can relish unlimitedly all his beauty, and then comes Karunya, compassion, finally. And why the compassion is needed, that is also explained in the top portion of this slide. So here we'll go from left to right. All of the devotee's senses and the mind becomes like his eyes. Okay, when he sees his eyes is not enough to gather all the rasas, all the beauty, So through ears, through nose, through tongue, through touch, all these indriyas, indriya means senses, the devotee is doing that, drinking that, including his mind. Mentally also he does that, so become like his eyes. So his darshana, beholding of his beauty, gets interrupted by ecstatic transformation. That is what I call this rasas, ecstatic transformations. And that is by sattvic bhavas, like tears rolling from the eyes of his devotees, crying, laughing, rolling on the ground. All these things are called sattvic bhavas, uh, followed by the loss of consciousness. At the end of each of these beauties that the devotee drinks, uh, he goes into swoon. Swoon means he really becomes unconscious. He forgets his surroundings. So Bhagavan had to revive him for the devotee to experience the next uh, uh, his bestowal of this beauty, the second kind of beauty, third kind of beauty. So at every end of this first, second, third, the devotee becomes unconscious. So Bhagavan had to revive him actually, So that is what's that, followed by the loss of consciousness at each of the stages. Bhagavan then revives the devotee by successive manifestation of sweetness, one by one, that we see that here, 1 through 7. So then what happens? Bhagavan bestows Audarya, because all these five sense objects are drank by the senses of the devotee, and still the devotee is not able to really fully enjoy that, fully satisfied. So Lord, it only by his mercy, by his compassion, the devotee is able to do that, and that is called Audarya, the sixth one, his Audarya or magnanimity. Is so here that's what says, when the devotee's experience of losing consciousness in this ecstatic moods reaches at such depth that the Lord is unable to revive him back to consciousness. Okay, So here, then what does Lord do that? Thus allowing the devotee's five senses organs to simultaneously perceive all its madhurya or sweetness. And that is done by his audarya. And then what happens? Bhagavan then bestows his audarya with the devotee's experience of losing consciousness in this ecstatic mood reaches to such depth. So the only way the devotee could be revived is through this audarya. And then what happens? How the devotees with only, so now the question might arise, because we know how the mind works. Mind works one thing at a time. Okay. When he focuses beauty, the mind is focused on beauty. Okay. But then beauty, fragrance, touch, and all this thing goes. So mind cannot simultaneously focus on all these things, and he's drinking simultaneously because of the audarya capacity by the Lord. So how do we explain that? So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this. Here it says that the question is how the devotee with only one mind is able to simultaneously relish all five kinds of madhurya through his five senses. So it is all due to Bhagavan's Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potency of the Lord, and his karunya, compassion. Then we will see now in lesson 23, his karunya, his compassion is transmitted through his eyes. Bhagavan looks very, very affectionately to the devotee and through his glancing at him. And the devotee feels greatly, greatly elated when the Lord looks at him. So that through that compassion, through this glance, he transmits his compassion. So this is, I thought I would, that's the reason I spent many hours, really literally many, many hours to finish, to do this particular one PowerPoint. So many different ways I tried, and this was actually accomplished only within just few minutes before this class began actually, and a few minutes. So now we begin lesson 23, and this lesson 23 is the part 2 of Prema Bhakti. It's the absolute fulfillment of the soul's yearning. So here, as Mataji summarized, recapped, so there are 6 texts in this lesson 22, 23, 24. Right? Lesson 22, we dealt with the first 2 texts. So in 23, we will do the next 2, text 3 and text 4. And the final concluding lesson 24 is the concluding text 5 and 6. So lesson 3 sub themes are listed right here. Okay. So, sorry. So here it's A, B, C, D, E. So A, the sub theme of text 3, is since the devotee is unable to experience karunya, compassion, or the complete sweetness of Bhagavan, he expands his compassion. Lord had to expand even his compassion, and the way he does, actually glancing at his devotee. So karunya, Bhagavan's foremost compassion, that is described in 3b. And 3c, the mercy potency manifests herself to the devotee through Bhagavan's eyes, as I just mentioned to you. And 3d, affection for his devotees is the emperor of all Bhagavan's qualities. That is the topmost actually. Bhagavan's compassion for his devotees, and Bhagavan is also known, Krishna is also known as Bhakta Vatsala. In Bhagavan, even apparent fourth and final, the last thing that we will see, some of the qualities, there are totally 18 are there. Actually, they may seem like fault, but Bhagavan is all spiritual. transcendental, there cannot be any fault in Bhagavan. So even though that faults, seemingly fault, are actually Bhagavan's mercy, actually, that we will see, And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually gives specific examples from Shastra, especially mostly it is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Specific exemplify that particular seem like a fault, but it is not. And then text 4, the sub themes are here. Again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So by the mercy of Bhagavan, the devotee relishes his Madhurya. So even to relish his Madhurya, we need help from the Lord, from Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Bhagavan glorifies. So now the amazing thing happens. The devotee's great surprise. See, Krishna actually feels, as we all know, to a premi bhakta, Krishna really submits himself to such a devotee, okay? And he feels kind of indebted to his devotees. So we'll see how Bhagavan addresses his devotees, exhibiting, he's displaying his indebtedness to him. And that was complete surprise to the devotee. Devotee is completely gone mad. He cannot figure it out how and what way he should respond. They're completely, stunned by hearing Bhagavan himself is glorifying his devotee. So the devotees are complete lost how to respond. But by Daine Bhav, he will respond. That we see both Krishna's description of his Audariya, and then we'll see this, okay? The beautiful form of Shri Bhagavan defies all worldly comparison. See, anything and everything that you want to describe Bhagavan, there is no corresponding, cannot give any particular analogy. There's nothing completely comes even close to Bhagavan. So only way you can do that is saying Bhagavan is Bhagavan. When we run out of analogies, that's what we see. Like this Mata, when I hear she's singing, especially when she does play Veena, I mean, I just could not come up with any kind of comparison. So all I could say is that Lalita Priya Mataji is Lalita Priya Mataji. There's no comparison that, like that. So when Sri Hari disappears, the devotee is plagued by various doubts that we will see now. The devotee's entrance into the Nitya Leela. So now Krishna takes the devotee through his to his abode, introduces his all the sakhas and sakhis, Srimati Radharani, all Radharani sakhis, even the manjaris, all everybody is introduced to the devotee when Krishna takes his devotee back to his spiritual world, Golok Dham. And the devotee, so he drops his body, of course. And he does not even realize that he is gone from this material world, and now he is appeared in the spiritual world of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Golok Dhama. When he sees all these things, when Krishna introduces everybody to his devotee, then he comes to his senses. So all these things we will hear now. So I just walked you through this lesson 3. I'm sorry, lesson 23. Here we will go a little bit more deeper now. So 3a, since the devotee is unable to experience karunya, or the complete sweetness of Bhagavan, he expands his compassion. So even when the Lord is showing great compassion, the devotee is not able to really grasp that. So even there also Krishna had to help his devotee to grasp his karunya or compassion. Premi Bhakta develops an intense desire to fully relish. So Krishna recognizes his desire, but the devotee is incapable to quench his thirst. Even there also Krishna had to help him. So Bhagwan's Madhurya, simultaneously beginning with his beauty, Bhagwan bestows upon the Premi Bhakta his seventh Madhurya, and that is Karunya. And how does he do that? Karunya, Bhagwan's foremost compassion, topmost compassion, that is Karunya. So, and how does he do that? Through his eight energies. These are technical terms, of course. It's like compared to like eight petals. It's a lotus flower with eight petals. Each of its petal representing a particular potency of the Lord. And through his eight energies, like Vimala, that is the purity of the Lord, uh, Utkarshini, Jnana, Kriya, Yoga, Prahavi, Satya, and Ishana, remain situated upon the eight petals of the lotus, gracefully resplendent within this whole world. This lotus flower is like a world, uh, of the lotus is the ninth potency, and that is the Anugraha Shakti. But Krishna says, Yasyam Anugrahami, Yasyam Anugrahami, to whom I specially bestow special mercy, there is Anugraha, you know. So that Anugraha Shakti or compassion potency, which rules over the other eight potencies. So that is the topmost energy by which Krishna transmit his compassion as the presiding goddess. And 3C, this mercy potency manifests herself to the devotee. So these are all personified. Remember, these potencies are all personified. Manifest herself, they are all ready to serve the Lord in the interaction between the Lord and his devotees through Bhagwan's eyes that he transmits. Literally, his compassion flowing through his eyes in the direction of his devotees. So Bhagwan Kripa Shakti rains down like a torrential rain upon the devotee through his merciful glance. And the devotee feels so indebted. I mean, so incredible. He just gets stunned by that, This mercy potency manifests in the devotees in these different rasas, depending on one particular rasa, like Dasya rasa, Sakhya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, and finally, of course, Madhurya rasa, through which so Krishna reciprocates that. So, because he is Bhakta Vatsala, Krishna himself is pouring, literally pouring his sweetness, Madhurya, on his such a Premi Bhakta. And the devotee's Madhurya Rasa, she manifests as the potency to attract Krishna. So, in such a way, Krishna himself is attracted to the devotee's bhakti towards him, Prema Bhakti. That's Krishna Akarshani. His Prema Bhakti is so intense, devotee's Prema Bhakti, that itself attracts Krishna towards that particular devotee with intense indebtedness on the part of the Lord, So here says, sometimes the manifestation of this Shakti or potency is called Sneha, affection, sometimes called Priti, love. Now, Priti, it's a Sanskrit word. There is no really equivalent word in English. Roughly, it is translated as love, but that's no ordinary kind of love. I mean, there is no comparison in the material world, that kind of Priti we are talking about, okay? And sometimes Madhurya, charming sweetness, it causes so as we all know, Krishna is Atma Rama, right? But Krishna is self-satisfied within himself, but now he himself is unsatisfied. I mean, he is equally very, very intensely hungry, thirsty for his devotees' prema for him. Can you imagine that? It's just incredible. That's why Krishna Prema Bhakti is extremely so durlabha. No ordinarily one can get it. It's extremely difficult. Sudurlabha. Durlabha itself is extremely difficult, and Sudurlabha, even much more superlative term is used, Sudurlabha, by which Krishna himself is sold to his devotee. So here, I won't go each and everything. There are 39 qualities which is there inexhaustibly present in Shri Krishna. Okay, and I'll just mention just few of that: truthfulness, cleanliness, compassion, forbearance, renunciation. All these things. There are 39 qualities are there. So I would really move on. You can read it yourself, and everything is unlimited. All these qualities. Now we will see there are 18 qualities are there, which on the material platform looks like fault. It sounds like fault, but fault cannot exist in Krishna. He is all transcendental, So even that fault becomes quality in Krishna. Okay, so and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives scriptural references and some examples. So we'll go through few of them. First is moha, illusion. Obviously, illusion is actually happens within us, the conditioned soul. Moha cannot exist. The illusory potency is subservient to Krishna. So how could Krishna himself can commit illusion? But here, a resemblance of that you see here. So it is not there, but it seems like that way. Okay. So here, this is no Brahma Vimohan Leela. When Lord Brahma steals, because he was doubting that how could this Supreme Lord, Supreme Brahma, could take the taste, the food from the devotee's mouth. Devotee is actually serving to the Krishna, right? But here Krishna himself wants to taste that is bhoga, that is tasted by Krishna, by his devotee himself. So he cannot be a Parabrahma, So that is why he wanted to taste that. So what he momentarily he stole all his Gopa friends, and including the cows, that the devotees, the Gopas were herding along with Krishna himself. And then Krishna, for a moment, he was bewildered. What happened? So bewilderment, that's momentary, that moha happened within Krishna. But that was just momentary. It's not really moha. It was all Krishna's Leela pastimes to let Krishna, let Brahma himself become bewildered. So he created duplicates of all his Gopa's friends, duplicate cows, and the baby cows also. So when they went to their mother could not even wonder. They developed special love, compassion, special love, attraction for that. That they every day they used to see their sons, right? The cows, mother cows always used to see their baby cows. But that particular day onwards, it lasted a whole 1 year actually. So because Krishna was there directly, so that is that kind of moha. It seemed like, but it's not a real moha. The moha was, the illusion was for the purpose of Brahma. So that is Bhagavatam, that's Brahma Vimohan Leela, verse is particularly given. Then called lassitude. Lassitude means Tandra. Tandra means like momentary sleepiness and things like that, Exhaustion, as if Krishna is tired. Or exertion, parishrama, like tired and so on like that, Now Krishna, with the Supreme Lord, who creates this world, material world, how can he be tired, right? But he acts like that way. So to give pleasure to his devotee, he then rests his head in the lap of his devotee, and the devotee feel extreme pleasure. All his Gopas, Sakhas feel great, So once Krishna, tired from wrestling with the cowherd boys, and laid down in the shade of a tree on a bed made of soft leaves, he rested his head on the lap of a cowherd boy and fell asleep. So this Tandra, sleep, he fell asleep. Krishna never. In fact, his nidra is also yoga nidra. You know. So these are just examples. You know, that's where the Brahma, uh, Baladev and Shri Krishna returned to their mothers, crawling and bewildered and afraid, like babies. They do that, right? So Krishna and Balaram exactly acted like their little babies. You know, even though they are the supreme Lord. You know, lords. Then Lolium actually. Lolata is a restlessness. Sorry, not Lolium. The motherly gopis approached Mother Yashoda and said, "Your son releases the cows untimely before the cows have been milked. And when we become upset, he simply deludes. He simply chuckles. He's laughing, you know." So that is like that. Then Ahankara, that cannot exist in Krishna, right? But it seems like Ahankara is there here. One example, Krishna, who wears a garland of Vajantimala, right, shows honor to his coward friends, his eyes restless with pride. Uh, so Vajantimala actually prepared by Sakhas, actually, using the flowers, the wild flowers that exist in the forest, you know. And he said, "Oh, great! See how great and look like." So it looked like great pride, right? But it's not like that. Then Matsarya or envy, when Indra sent forth torrential rains in the attempt to destroy Vraja, Sri Krishna said, "I shall crush Indra's inflated false ego, which causes him to stupidly think himself to be the Lord of the world." So it seemed like that Krishna is jealous of Indra or what? You know? It was not like that. That was also his Leela, you know, first to discipline Indra, but also show mercy to Indra also at the same time. You know. Then himsa, violence, that cannot exist in Krishna, but it seemed like here. So, like killing of Putana, all the other demons, it's not like that. It's for their own liberation, the demons' liberation. Then Krodha, anger, that is also we see many examples, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives such examples. That Akanksha, Lord desiring something, okay, hankering for something, you know, uh, it seemed like a fault, right? But it cannot be. Here the example, desirous of drinking her breast milk, that is Mother Yashoda, Sri Krishna went to his mother who was churning yogurt. That also we see that is Damodar Leela. We are all familiar with that. So I won't go into detail. Then that Ashanka or apprehension, not finding the cows and sakhas anywhere in the forest, the all-knowing Shri Krishna understood that this was all work of Lord Brahma, you know. So initially he showed as if he became apprehended. And I mean, he became worried about what happened to my sakhas, what happened to my cows. But that was again momentarily, again, that was part of his Leela. Uh, then Vishwa Vibrahma, or bewildering others. I won't read now. Vishmatya or partiality. He's he's supposed to be. He's actually impartial to everyone, right? But seemingly he's partial to his devotees. That is there. Then parapekshka or dependency on others. How could Lord depend on others? Only to his devotees. Devotees prema. So okay, let's take a short break. Haribol. I want to devote as much time as possible for the discussion. I'm expecting there should be a really fairly uh, good discussion. A lot of questions I'm hoping that you will come up with. Okay, the final minute, 1 minute. Okay, so now this one uh, takes 4 now, A through E. And what I'm going to do, blow up the right portion first and then the left portion. Okay. And here I'm going to take a little time because something really important. Uh, how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur exemplifies Krishna, how he feels indebted to his devotee, and how his devotee in turn becomes stunned by that, and only by his dainya bhav he responds. So here uh, for A, this is by the mercy of Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, the devotee relishes his Madhurya. Remember, I saw that, we saw that in the beginning. This Karunya, uh, 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 continuing realizing the unprecedented affection of Bhagavan for his devotees, the devotee's heart melts. You know, of course, we know that at this stage, his heart is completely softened to experience all these ecstatic bhavas. And the complete melting of his heart takes place in this prema stage that began at the bhava stage. Then Bhagavan glorifies his devotees. Now, this is where I want to spend a little time and to give an example that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that. Okay, so here Bhagavan fully comes under the control of such a premi devotee, who has worshipped him while enduring endless sorrows and difficulties, contempt and dishonor. So, as many of us, even at this such a primitive level of bhakti that we are here, and we get in when we get in the difficulties, we become so much discouraged, right? But here, this is a good example. We should not feel discouraged, and this is all we should consider as Krishna's mercy, because He's bringing us closer and closer, and He's making us advance on this Bhakti Lata Vraksha. You know? So we'll see that example. Although He gives His very self to the devotees in reciprocation for the devotees' offering of a palm full of water. So how does He reciprocate what? He expects nothing more than a simple like patram pushpam phalam toyam ye bhaktya prayachati. By great devotional sweet devotion, we simply hear little water or offer a leaf of tulsi, and some fruit. He becomes intensely satisfied, and he feels so indebted to such a devotee. That bhakti, that prema bhakti, which we should offer that. That's all he cares. That's all he's thirsty for, And we will see the example. So the obvious. So here, let me first show you that, and I'm going to magnify so that you can all see that. Magnifying glass. Here it is. Yeah, I want you to really see that, read that. So here Bhagavan is addressing, okay, and this is it's actually seen page 419. Oh, best of my devotees. Now listen very carefully, okay? How Krishna is so indebted to such a Premi Bhakta. Oh, best of my devotees, for so many lifetimes you have abandoned your wife, home, wealth, and so forth for me. We already saw such a verse before, right? When he addressed his gopis, right? Na parayaham. I cannot repay all the things. I'm indebted to you, right? So this is very similar to such a premi devotee. That all these difficulties we experience, our difficulties are nothing really compared to what Krishna is offering us. But even that little difficulties we pass through, that we actually amplify it to such an extent, right? But here, reading this thing, you will realize this is nothing, absolutely nothing really. So that difficulty when we pass, when we go through that, it is actually his anugraha. He says, I show special mercy. So he says, and he recognizes all the difficulties we go through that. He said, you have abandoned your wife, home, wealth, and so forth for me. Only to serve me have you endured a multitude of miseries, such as cold, wind, hunger, thirst, pain, and disease. You totally disregarded the insults of others and maintained your life by begging. Unable to repay you, I have become indebted to you. Now there's a there's a question might arise that we will see in a moment, okay? He, Krishna says he is unable to repay his devotee, and now he is capable. If he wants, he can give the sovereignty of the entire universe to such a devotee, right? But his devotee doesn't want any of this material wealth. His devotee wants only his love, you know, and that is what he feels indebted, that he is not able to give. So he feels that only if I express my indebtedness to my devotee, that's all I can give. Just like the gopi says, Nam paraya, I'm unable to repay you. So I become indebted to you. For you, lordship over the entire earth, sovereignty of the heavenly planets, even the position of the Lord Brahma and the various mystic perfection are completely unsuitable. Devotees don't want any of this thing. How could I grant them to you? Grass, straw, and bran, which animals find enjoyable, are not fit for humans. Thus, even though I am unconquerable, today you have conquered me. See, this is the exact Premi Bhakta conquers even Krishna also. You know, in this condition, I depend solely on your goodwill. Here, the Supreme Lord is telling his devotee that I depend solely on your goodwill. Can you imagine that? Nothing could compare to this thing. So, happened. Oh no.
Previous slides, Prabhuji.
Can you guys hear me? Hello? My
Yeah,
screen has gone. My screen has completely gone blank, dark.
Prabhuji's screen is there. There is the last slide we can see.
Screen is completely gone, dark.
But we can see this slide, the last one.
Yeah, but my screen has completely gone dark. So I don't know what happened.
Charging might have been more.
Yes, Prabhuji, go to the previous slide. We are able to see the last slide, slide number 28.
Yeah, but my screen is totally dark, and I'm using all these different things that I cannot. I guess I had to. I cannot figure out what happened.
Escape button, Prabhuji. Can you try escape button?
Sanjeev,
Or scroll also.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Prabhuji, join back again. I think that could be easy.
Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes.
Prabhuji, my screen is totally gone down and I cannot do anything. Prabhuji, can you complete the class today? The final few slides are there, I think. It's almost over now.
Let me open the slides.
સારું પ્રભુજી તમે લોગ આઉટ અને લોગિન ફરીથી થાવ તો કદાચ થઈ શકે.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm log out.
Hare Krishna, I think if Sharad Prabhu can share the screen and the slides, then Charu
Yeah,
Prabhu can still
okay,
give the class.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Something went wrong with my monitor.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji, I got it here. Okay. No, Prabhuji, go ahead. I cannot do anything here.
Yes, I'm just sharing.
See the final couple slides, I think, the meaning now.
Yes. I'm just going to the slides. Can you see this slide?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Got it. Yeah.
Go to the next slide.
Yes, yes. Yes, this is the one. Slide 26. Now, here in this slide, we are talking 4G, the devotees entrance into the Nitya Leela or the eternal pastimes. The eternal pastimes which are going on eternally. There is no stoppage. Like as we know, Lord Krishna came here 5,000 years back. And as far as we are concerned, he has gone back and all his the leelas they have stopped. But actually it is not. He's in the spiritual world. The time is eternal. That's why all these leelas they are happening even today. But we do not have the eyes to see them. What is being talked here, how the devotees they get entranced into the Nitya Leela or the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Now, in due course, the devotee abandons his material body without realizing he has done so. That means he doesn't come to know, but his material body, rather, what actually happens, the material body gets transformed to a spiritual body, and the devotee he is not aware of that fact. And all he knows is that the unlimitedly merciful Bhagavan has engaged him in direct service to him and has brought him to his own abode. He thus achieves the ultimate goal. Now, when he goes to the spiritual world, the devotee knows that he has come in the spiritual world and he is in service of the Supreme Lord. Now then the devotees darshana of Bhagavan's Dhamma and companions. Now once he goes to the spiritual world, Lord's own Dhamma, his own home, then one is going to see the various things which are in that Dhamma and the various companions like in Golok Vrindavana, the gopis will be there, the Brajavasis will be there, Nanda Maharaj will be there, Yashoda Mata will be there, and all those, the birds, the fish, everybody who took part in the Leela of the Supreme Lord, they are also there in that abode. How the devotee sees them, what is given after realizing his devotee's dainya bhava. This is the humility. That means we have been talking always that humility is the best quality in a devotee. He has to develop that quality and he has to excel in that quality because Krishna likes that dainya bhava only. Then what happens? Sri Krishna blesses that aspirant of Manjari Bhava by granting him darshana of the excellence of his rasa-filled pastimes with Sri Radha, her sakhis like Lalita, Visakha, and Manjaris like Rupa and other confidential companions who assist in Madhurya Rasa along the darshana of the matchless treasure of Vrindavana splendor. Actually, with our little knowledge and with our intelligence, we cannot describe what is there in the Golak Vrindavana, how is the beauty and how are the gopis, how are the manjaris. Manjaris, the difference between the gopis and the manjaris, they are actually much closer to Krishna and they assist him in the confidential pastimes where even the gopis, that is the even Lalita, Visakha and the other Ashtasakis, they are not allowed at that stage, but they are present. They are at their age is lesser than the gopis. That is what is the what we talk about the Manjaris. Now we hear about these descriptions only from the acharyas because if we use our own sense, our own intelligence will be not able to describe them. They are at such exalted level, and at that level, what is being spoken here, the devotee is getting a darsana of the Rasa Leela, the Rasa, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and he will be able to see all the gopis, the manjaris, the associates, the cows, the everything there in Golak Vrindavana. And that is going to happen. And the beautiful form of Sri Bhagavan defies all worldly comparison. We cannot actually describe the beauty of Sri Bhagavan. Even Lord Sesa with his 1,000 mouths, if he takes so many kalpas also, he will not be able to describe even a portion of his beauty. And some of it, if there is time, I will tell you today. I was saying the other day, it is given in Govinda Lilamrita. Just a portion of it I will describe, and you will know what it means. Now, when we further go on in the slide, how can your face be compared to the lotus? It is also impossible to compare your flawless face, which is beyond description, and to the moon, which gradually wanes until it is no longer visible. O soul, master of the universe, to what can I compare your beautiful face as you play upon your flute? The description of the face is explained here. But as you know, the description of the Supreme Lord, it starts with the feet only. But in certain cases, it starts with something else also. I'll say about this, like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, the Lord says, Kunti Mata says, Namah Pankajanaabhaya, Namah Pankajamaline, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangre. Now she is describing all the parts of his body to the lotus flower. But here she is not starting with the lotus feet. But she is starting with the waist of the Lord, because as we know, Kunti Mata did not begin to see the Lord from the lotus feet, because the Lord might feel ashamed, as the Kunti Devi is her very, very close relation, and she has seen him when he was very young, and just to save a painful situation of the Lord, he began to see the Lord just above his lotus feet. And more of it will describe when we go to the discussion time, and if there is any time. And then the last part of the slide, O Prabhu, if you wish to hear my response, please listen. Poets of old have seen your beautiful form in their deep meditation, and they have compared your face to the moon and the lotus only because they were limited to their poetic ability. What is being said, the poet is limited by his poetic ability. Actually, the poet also cannot describe fully the Supreme Lord. It is not possible. As I said, even Lord Sesa, he also cannot describe it. What to talk of the ordinary human being? Truly, the moon is nothing but a camphor lamp suitable for circling your lotus face in Aarti, and thus put to one side. And this is what is being said. Then I think this is the last slide. What is said here, when Sri Hari disappears, the devotee is plagued by various doubts. He appears and disappears. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur now expands on the Premi Bhakta's various astonishing states of ecstasy. When Ashta Sattvika Vikar is there, what happens at this stage? He also expands on the Premi Bhakta's behavior arising from his darsana of Bhagavan, and then his losing sight of Bhagavan when he vanishes. Bhagavan bestows his darshana and then disappears only to reveal this kind of rupture in the Premi Bhakta's heart, which is full of eagerness and anxiety. And this type of madness, replete with intense craving, is the supreme objective of human life. The Lord does, it has been explained in many places in Srimad Bhagavatam, that is to increase the intensity of love toward himself, that is Krishna. Sri Narada, the son of a maidservant, achieved Bhagavat Prema at a tender age by the mercy of sages. And remember, the sages were the four Kumaras, that's why some acharyas they say. I am not going to the whole story, it is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Deep in the jungle, Sri Bhagavan granted his darshana to the eager Narada and then vanished. What had happened after Narada's mother died of a snake bite? Narada left the home that time only because he had all the knowledge acquired from the sages when they had come during the Chaturmasya, and then he felt very tired and he sat under a banyan tree, and at that time the Supreme Lord he granted his darshan to the to Narada in his heart only, not physically, and then suddenly he vanished. Greatly perturbed, Narada became extremely restless to gain behold Bhagavan and prayed to be able to do so. Bhagavan then spoke to him in a form Narada could not see. O sinless one, I have revealed myself to you only once, and this is just to increase your attachment to me. When the devotee develops a strong greed and eagerness to see me, all types of desires for sense objects leave his heart. As we know, Narada could not see the Lord in his that lifetime. It is given, the complete story is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and later on he became Narada Muni. So if the Lord, the Supreme Lord Krishna, he wants to shower his mercy, he can do like this also to the devotee. But he also disappears at times, so this is to increase the eagerness in us. And at the time of Rasalila, when Krishna disappeared from the midst of the beautiful gopis of Braja, they became afflicted with deep sorrow and separation from him. And we sing the Gopi Gita. Gopi Gita is because of that only separation from him and weeping. They prayed for his darshana. And after Bhagavan again revealed himself, the gopis, on the pretext of posing a riddle, accused him of abandoning them at night deep in the forest. And to pacify them, Krishna said, my beloved Sakhi, just as a penniless person, after losing wealth gained by providence, becomes so engrossed in thoughts of that wealth that he forgets all else. Similarly, to facilitate my worshipper's continuous meditation on me, I do not immediately reciprocate or give him my darshana. This is the last verse in the 32nd chapter of the 10th canto. That means if the Lord comes in our dreams also, or by any means, but he disappears, we should not think that he has abandoned us. He is doing this for good of us because he wants us to have more eagerness so that we can serve him. And then certainly in all these transactions, we should understand that the Lord is not forgetting us. We may forget the Lord sometimes, but the Lord will never forget us. It is very, very clear. And at the appropriate time, he will come and he will take us to his spiritual kingdom, because all of us, we belong to his kingdom only. But due to some reason, we are separated from him. That's why we should keep on doing this sadhana bhakti, and a day will come when the Lord will be very much pleased to take all of us, without any exception, all of us to his kingdom, and we will be in permanent service of the Supreme Lord. I think this was the last slide. Yes, now I'll stop sharing the slide. And now the session is open for question and answers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, the example of Narad Muni, right? So Lord shows and, as you said, sitting under the tree and meditating and shows in the heart. And then Lord disappears. But there the sound comes and said that because you are not grown enough or mature enough. So I think that is the reason given Prabhuji there, right?
No, what actually happens, unless we are fully qualified, he will not show himself. Like to Prahlad also, to any other devotee, one has to wait. And Narada Muni had not reached that stage. Not only young, like Prahlad Maharaj, how old, or any of these devotees, the age is immaterial, but he had not achieved that level. He got the teachings, that is the advice from the sages who used to come during Chaturmasya, and he had served them, and he had partaken their uchista, that is the remnants, and that's how he got totally purified. And then he came to this stage. Actually, seeing the Supreme Lord in dream also, that is a very big thing. Well, like all of us, we must not be seeing the Lord in dream, because seeing him in a dream is also seeing the Supreme Lord. It is the same thing. Lord is conveying the things. He conveyed to him that I'll be visible to you at the appropriate time. And in this life, you will not be able to see me. But from next life, what happens? He became the Narada Muni, and he is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord. And he has been singing the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna everywhere in the universe. He can go anywhere at will. Like this, he achieved this. It is because the time had not come. And for us also, when the time comes, the Lord will appear before us, and he will certainly bless us, because as we have heard here, he is most merciful, he is most compassionate. There is nobody who is more compassionate than him, and there is nobody who is more merciful than him. That means he does not take into account our mistakes, but we should come up to that level, we should come up to that standard. Otherwise, we will create problems in his Dhamma, and we will not behave properly. So that is the way Lord, he shows mercy at the right time, not at the time in which we want, or wanting, desiring, that has no meaning. That's what I can answer.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Makes sense. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Prabhuji said 8 energies, and those are 8 beetles, and 9th potency is Anugraha Shakti. So is it that Anugraha Shakti means the Krupa Shakti?
Which Shakti you were talking of?
Anugraha Shakti, 9th potency, it rules over the 8 potency.
Anugraha, yes. Anugraha means mercy. Yes. That is similar Sanskrit words. Yes. Anugraha means he is doing Anugraha means he is compassionate, and he is being merciful, and that's how the Lord is showing his mercy on the Supreme, on the Jiva. As we know, we can never be perfect. The Lord can be perfect, 100% perfect. We cannot be. There will be so many mistakes. And there will be so many deficiencies. But still then, that Anugraha is there because he is merciful. Otherwise, with all our whatever qualities we have, we do not qualify for seeing the Supreme Lord, or even get his mercy. But he is much more merciful. He is looking for a pretext to shower his mercy on us. That's why we should walk on the lines of the acharyas, and then only we'll be able to follow that path. We should follow the simple things like the four regulative principles, whatever has been ordered by the spiritual master, take the name of the Lord. All these things we have to follow and get purified, and at the right time the Lord will come in our heart, and even he can appear personally also, and we will be favored by him. He favors everybody. He just trying to find a pretext to favor us, but we are not giving him that chance. That's why we are in this position. But at least now we have come up to that level, and we are trying to progress in this path of devotional service, that is sadhana bhakti. I hope I have answered your question, Mataji. The Charuprabhuji will be giving the balance of the answer.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm sorry about my monitor has completely gone dead, So I'm working with my PC screen, which is a very small one, Can you everybody see my video image and you can hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Very
Okay,
clearly.
So Nityasaki Mataji's question about Anugraha, yes, that's his Shakti, potency. Remember, there is a verse in Bhagavatam, Yasyam Anugrahami, to whom I show my special mercy. Sometimes he take away everything, all material things from us, but that is also mercy, because then he is taking us close to him, and he's taking us to his Golok Vrindavan Dham, so that is what we'll have to think. We have to really interpret when something a terrible thing happens in our material life, that is for our own good. That means it is now time to leave this material world, and Krishna is really taking us back to his Godhead, So that we have to think like that. Yashyam Anugrahami. So that is his greatest potency. And by his, remember, here we are talking about prema bhaktas. We are not talking about ordinary devotees. The devotee who has reached to that final stage, prema stage, that we are talking about, So we cannot compare ourselves here. So when a particular devotee reaches to that stage, he is already purified of all material dirt, everything like that, He's completely in tune. And remember, we also saw in last weekend's class, he is serving the Lord that is favorable to Krishna. As Krishna desires, he's serving the Lord, and that's where we see Krishna is completely feeling indebted to such a devotee. And that last thing that we heard, that was the famous verse na parayam, to telling the gopis that I cannot repay that whatever you have done for me. You have given up everything for my sake, So we are talking about that. So here, being able to enjoy all 7 varieties of his sweetness that we saw in this lesson, and the lesson that we covered last weekend, that is even to relish that nectar, also we need his anugrahami, his potency of showing special mercy, and that he transmits through this compassion, everything, through his glance, that we have to understand that, Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. It's clear now. Yeah.
I'm very sorry about this. This thing happened, It's a technical difficulty. My monitor, which I bought about nearly
Hare
$1,000.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Raksha Mataji.
So wonderful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, ये एक स्लाइड में था कि भक्तों को जो डिफिकल्टीज आती है, तो उनके सही बात है, भगवान के जो प्रेमी भक्त जो है उनके लाइफ में तो बहुत डिफिकल्टी होती है. हम तो वो स्टेज पे है ही नहीं, तो फिर भी हमें बहुत लगती है कि बहुत डिफिकल्ट. मगर हम जो मेरे लाइफ में मतलब नरसिंह मेहता जो थे, नरसिंह मेहता, फिर मीराबाई, और तुकाराम जी, वो तीनों की लाइफ में अगर मैंने पढ़ा है तो वो लोग की जो डिफिकल्टीज है उनके सामने हमारी कुछ भी नहीं है। हम जो लगता है कि हमारी डिफिकल्ट, मगर उनके सामने हमारी कोई डिफिकल्टीज नहीं है प्रभु जी। सही बात है,
एग्जैक्टली।
क्योंकि ये बहुत ही नजदीक से हमने ये पढ़ा है, ये नरसिंह मेहता, मीराबाई और संत तुकाराम जी,
ये इसी
जो
से हमें
भगवान के।
सीखना, इसी से हमें
हाँ,
सीखना है। हमें जो डिफिकल्टी हो रही है अब इस लाइफ में, वो तो कुछ हिसाब में नहीं है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम कुछ भी नहीं है कंपैरिजन टू दिस प्रेमी भक्तास। लुक एट द पांडवस, gopis, how much they suffered, you know. राधा रानी, how much she suffered. So ये तो उसके सामने हम कुछ भी नहीं है। हम जरा से तकलीफ आती है तब ऊपर नीचे हो जाते थे ना। तो यही समझ मुझे तो इस बात से एक्चुअली आई फील ग्रेट solace, you know, when at the last stage. Remember, I've been struggling to for my academic degree for the last 4 years, and one by one these roller coaster things that I've been experiencing, and finally the university wants me to come back, but they put such a unacceptable conditions I cannot accept now, you know. So question is, ye kuch din tak it hurt me a lot, but when I was preparing these lessons, you know, now I realize these are nothing, absolutely nothing compared to that. We should actually rejoice that more and more material difficulties we are facing, that means Krishna is taking us away from this material world, and we are now ready to progress further on this Bhakti Lata Vraksha. Actually, you know, forget about going to the Prema Bhakta level, even to come to this particular, this developing taste and attachment for Krishna, that is really a lot more than we deserve, actually, you know. So that is what you're thinking. So now this lesson should give all of you to not worry about any material difficulties we face in our life. In fact, we should think that is really the blessings of Krishna. We are now about to end this material world, and now getting ready to come to Krishna directly. And he is taking full charge of us, you know. Hare Krishna. I hope I've satisfied.
यस प्रभु जी, इसमें हमें तीन तीन चीजें अच्छे से सीखनी है। सबसे पहले तो है दैन्य भाव, फिर है फिर है ईगरनेस, हमारी स्ट्रॉन्ग ईगरनेस, और है एक लोल्यम। ये अगर तीन हमारी लाइफ में हम कल्टीवेट अच्छे से करें तो हम बहुत ही आगे अच्छे से धीरे धीरे करके बढ़ सकते हैं।
Absolutely.
प्रभु जी,
You got it right, perfectly right. Thank you. And thank you, Sharat Prabhuji, for the 11th hour I have submitted to you like that. Any other questions, comments? And maybe Sharat Prabhuji can say a lot more now. Sharat Prabhuji, go ahead and say if you have something more to say. I'm sure you must have something more.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Like we are talking of the beauty of Krishna. Now let me tell you something, a very small portion of what is given in Govinda Lilamrita. It is given in the chapter 16. What happened after Radha and Krishna, they woke up early in the morning and they set up on they set up on the bed. The Sakhis who had woken up before them, they saw and came up, and even Subala and Madhumangala, they also came. Now at this time, what happened, Vrindadevi had two students with her, the young Sarika Talokti and the super Manjubak. Now she engaged them in praising the divine couple Radha and Krishna. Now at that time Radharani also gestured to Vrindadevi to do this task, and thereafter Vrindadevi, when ordered by Vrindadevi ordered the Sukha to praise Krishna. So the parrot began to the recitation. he said that although my poetry is not very sweet and it is devoid of good qualities, they will be relishable for everybody, because I am going to describe the king and the Achyuta, that is Krishna's qualities, just as the iron knife of a hunter can also be turned into gold by the touch of a touchstone. Now, I only describe the feet only. Now, the Sukha is describing that Sri Krishna's feet, the lotus feet, they eclipse even the beauty of Purushottama, that is Lord Vishnu's feet, with the marks of various marks are there, like the disc, the half moon, the barley corn, the umbrella, the triangle, a void, a bow, swastika, thunderbolt, cow's hoof, like this. There are so many signs. Then a single mentioning of the glories of Sri Krishna's lotus feet at once removes one's thirst for everything else. And they are expert in destroying the calamities which come in our life for anybody who meditates on them, because they bestow all good fortune. One becomes highly astonished upon seeing their beauty, and that beauty gladdens the senses, and their touch removes all miseries and fatigue and gives happiness to anybody. And simply by meditating on Krishna's lotus feet, one attains all spiritual and material fortune, beauty, good qualities, wealth, and everything, including the abode of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And then the parrot describes that even a slight worship of Krishna's lotus feet turns like a Chintamani stone, a mere cow into a Kamadhenu, and a mere tree into a desire tree, because they fulfill all desires of a living being. And that's why we should all take shelter of Lord Krishna, because his lotus feet are always gladden the tongues of the honeybee like devotees with their fragrance that is filled with the whole world. And he says that I praise Krishna's lotus feet that are filled with honey, and the toes are the petals, and the nails, the holes of these lotuses that pervade all the directions with their fragrance, which is drunk by the gopis and the bee-like eyes. And these feet are like red lotus sprouts that please all the five senses in us, and their great qualities, and they are generous like the leaves of a desire tree. And with that, it can be compared to the best thing we can expect from. And Krishna's toenails are as white as Ganga in Prayag, and the top sides of these feet are as black as the Yamuna in Vrindavana, and the soles are red like Brahma's daughter Saraswati. And in this way, Krishna's lotus feet are completely beautiful and fulfill all desires, like a bath in the Triveni, that is the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati in Prayag. Now, the glories of Krishna's feet are very, very wonderful, and the darkness that takes shelter of these feet defeats Aruna, that is the sun god, the sun's charioteer in the battle. So Aruna, that is the crimson morning glory, takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, lotus soles that are just as red. And seeing the darkness of the feet, the moon also flees in fear and takes shelter of Krishna's splendid nails. That means it becomes morning. And with a glance, Vrinda then engaged the parrot Kalokti who scented her tongue with the descriptions of Krishna's lotus feet. She's saying that the hot crimson rays of the sun, morning sun, have scorched Aruna, who took shelter of the cool shade of Krishna's lotus feet. And that is why Krishna's foot soles are pervaded with their reddish luster. And this is the example of the poet. But it is thought that the strong passion for Krishna of Radhika's heart has colored the lotus feet red, making them her abode. And when Krishna's lotus feet are fondled by the lotus hands of the lotus-eyed gopis, and they look like blue lotus flowers. And when they stand on the gopis' golden pitcher-like breast, they take the red asoka leaves and they stand on the gopis' lake-like hearts and they shine like the red lotuses. This is how she is describing, and also says that Krishna's lotus feet, they are more cool, they are more beautiful, they are more fragrant than the moon, the blue lotuses, the sandalwood paste, camphor, and the lotus stems, and they are always eager to touch Radha or to be fondled by her hands. And they become smeared by beautiful vermilion from Radha's chest, which makes them the playground of the girlfriend of beauty personified. Then on Radha's encouragement, the Sukha and Sari, they started describing Krishna's other limbs, filling the ears of those who were assembled, that is the gopis and the friends, the sakhas, with nectar. And then the Sukha and Sari, they started describing Krishna's heels are shining like very glossy waves of natural beauty, or like the blue lotus birds coming up half on the surface of Yamuna river in Vrindavana, and they are like wonderful tamala cup leaves filled with honey of fresh beauty. And whosoever licks this honey even once with his tongue, at once becomes intoxicated. And above Krishna's beautiful lotus feet, the Creator has hidden the two heels for the satisfaction of Radha's two parrot-like eyes, as if they were like two fruits, and the heels are like marbles that nicely embrace Han's feet. The maidens of Radha's mental desire play with them like girls playing all the balls with the boy. Like this, each and every part of body of Krishna, I just spoke of the lotus feet only. His feet till the face, they are described in this Govinda Lilamrita very, very nicely. And I'll request, if you have time, please go through them and you will certainly like how they have been described by Vrindadevi's two messengers, or rather the two students, that is the Sukha and Sari. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. We are coming toward the end of our time. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. And I'm very sorry this technical difficulty happened. But I think you did it very well. And all of you also, I'm very, very grateful, all of you, for your time and place. So now we are approaching almost to the end. So I'm going to request Raksha Mataji, would you do Nrsimha prayer, please? Because I don't think Saga Prabhu is
Kindly,
here now.
Samta Mataji.
Okay, Samanta Mataji, please.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Please accept my request. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadadaine. Praladadadaine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. शीलटङ्कानखालाय शीलटङ्कानखालाय इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह मही नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह मही नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलवरे नखम् अद्भुतशृङ्गम् दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गम् केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरे नखम् अद्भुतशृङ्गम् दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गम् केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव all glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Samantha Mataji. So beautifully done. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glory to Sri Six Goswamis of Vrindavan, all glory to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So tomorrow we will do the final lesson of Shri Madhurya Kadambini. In the meantime, I wish you all the best. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna. Dandavat pranam. Saraswati.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharad Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.